Good. Looking forward to this one. I've got your email pulled up here as well as your form because obviously you wanted to go through like a lot of different stuff kind of regarding your situation. Um, so obviously, like, really crazy is the stuff that you've kind of accomplished over like the last few years, but obviously that unfortunately coinciding with some health stuff, and trust me, I'm with you on that. That definitely sucks. It's especially frustrating as you elaborated where it feels like it hinders your performance elsewhere, right? That could be beyond exasperating. So you were thinking, I think, trying to figure out what we were probably going to look at in terms of replays today. Obviously, we're not quite there yet. I want to go through a couple other things first, but what were you thinking in terms of heroes so far?
Yeah, I messaged you about it. I found a couple replays.
Sure.
I really
Seems some
do like,
Illari and Juno.
yeah, there's one of them is Juno, Kiriko, Juno, and the other one's Illari, Juno, Juno, as far as
Okay.
like rounds go.
Yeah. Seems good. I see you've got some notes prepped for those as well, which is great. So, initially here, basically, you're trying to find out what the deal is going on with Overwatch, besides your health interrupting some of your focus, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about how long you've been playing Overwatch and like what your hero pool, your journey through Overwatch has looked like over the last few years.
Okay, so I started in 2017.
Yep.
When I started playing Overwatch, it was the very first FPS I ever played, like on a PC.
Uh huh.
I was always like under the impression for some reason, I guess it's a common thing where like I thought like FPS were more like designed for like controllers. So I'd played Overwatch like on my Xbox and stuff. But
Right.
then when I started to really get into the game, I started following it more and I learned about like, the higher skill ceiling of like the PC and the stuff you can do. So I dove right into that. And I got into competitive probably like a little too early. Like I got ranked really low at the start. I did like really poorly, and it seems like this account, like ever since that start, like it seems like I've had a anchor on my support like role SR
Mm hmm. Mm hmm.
from that. Like my other roles, like I actually used to main basically off tank more than support before they took that role away because Diva was my favorite hero.
Right.
But
Right.
after they took the role away and then like support was in a really good shape at the start of Overwatch 2, so I was really getting into that hard, and I've kind of focused on support mainly throughout Overwatch 2 until the point I think I said in the email, I'd mentioned in the email, I kind of gave up at some point and started playing the other roles just because it was so hard for me to rank up on support because I was getting like 12 SR for a win and like losing 18 SR for a loss. So like it
Mm
was, I would have to grind a lot to rank up, and I just didn't have like time to do that.
hmm.
But
Interesting.
then
Interesting. Okay.
like some would, they've had a couple of these soft resets and it didn't ever change anything, but suddenly on this soft reset now my support, like it's given me like the big gains, like how it's normally supposed to during a reset. Like I was getting like 40% of a rank for wins and stuff, so I was like, whoa, and that really kind of opened things up for me, and now I'm like really interested in it again.
Sure. Let me actually pull up something that might kind of take some of the mystery away from the rank system because it can be a bit confusing to say the least here. And so let me make sure I've got everything pulled up in my end. All right, can you see Microsoft Paint here?
Yeah.
So basically what ends up happening is that you want to have a 50-50 match, pardon the handwriting I'm drawing with the mouse, in every match, right? Where basically if we were to use Overwatch 1 terminology, it's like a 20-50 average SR lobby versus a 20-50 average SR lobby, right? And that's always going to be the case. That would be optimal, but it sadly isn't that way because it's very difficult to find the numbers that perfectly align in terms of the SR without making the queue time be like 15 minutes, right? So what they end up doing most of the time is they'll have the equivalent of like a 2050 lobby and what will probably be like a 2000 lobby. Now, the difference between this lobby or this, excuse me, team and this team isn't really all that much, but it is a little bit. It is a noticeable amount. Over like, let's say 1,000 games, this team might be expected to win like, 50 52 or 53% of them, right? Or something like that. Whereas this one would be expected to win only 47%. They're not that much worse, but just by a little bit. So what happens is the game puts you into those because it's just trying to create a match with a reasonable queue time, but it rewards you for winning this match here slightly more. So this is where you're going to have an uphill battle, I believe is the modifier is what it's called. I'm a little out of, it's been a while since I've studied the modifier names, but like something like an uphill battle. So if you win at a 47% chance to win that match, then you're going to get bonus, like let's say, I don't know, 15%, 20%. I don't remember exactly what the modifiers are. I know they're flexible. SR, essentially. And this changes. Like let's say that you were on this one. You would say, oh, we won. So it would be, I think, expected, I think is what the terminology is. And long story short is this would mean it would be like a minus 15, 20%. Kind of what you were saying earlier where I'm losing and gaining more SR. And so you have these modifiers like these that come into play. Now, there's a couple of other modifiers like winning trend, losing trend. Like if you win a majority of your games or lose the majority of your games, the game's going to try to recalibrate you. And then there's one where it's called calibration, where on a new account or on placements, there's a lot more volatility. So you might lose a lot or gain a lot depending on which direction that you're going. And then there's also one where you go to the bottom of your bar. So like, let's say that this is your SR bar, okay? And you are here, okay? If you lose a game here, you're gonna go right to here, okay? Maybe you lost, really, got a couple of losses, you bam, and you had lost another game and you're down to here, and you only have this much of your bar filled up. If you lose another game in this bar, instead of dropping to the next rank like you should visually, it's going to pretend that you're still here. It's going to stop you right here, if that makes sense. Now, if you win the next game, you're going to be able to recapture that SR, but it's going to look like you didn't gain much SR because visually you didn't lose much, but you actually did. It just didn't show it. The tough thing is if you lost this game here and you dropped all the way down, it hit the rock bottom, and it should have kept going, but it didn't. Well, you did, it just doesn't show it. Because the next time, let's say you go from gold 2, and then you drop down to gold 3. Let's say you lose...
drop down a lot.
Right, right, exactly. Let's say you lose again, you're going to drop down the stuff that you didn't see here, it's going to show up now. So you're going to have the stuff that you didn't see and then the additional loss, and you're going to be like this here, and you'll be like, man, what the heck? Why did I lose that so much? You already lost it, you just didn't see it. And that's a visual choice for the matchmaker, which I'm not a fan of. I think that there's probably a chance that this is going to get changed at some point in the next 6 months. But in the meanwhile, that's kind of how it is. But basically, here's the TLDR, is that like the uphill battle, the expected, the winning trend, the losing trend, a lot of these things have been in play since Overwatch 1, since the game came out. And I know that the original team didn't like transparency. Now you have actual visual manifestations of why you're losing or winning. And if you've been noticing recently, man, every single time I win, I'm getting only a little bit. And every single time I lose a lot. The reason is that you've probably just gotten the luck of the dice to where you actually had stacked teams in a lot of those games. That's just how it was, which means that you are more likely to win those games. Over time, that will even out. Like, you're not more likely to have weaker or stronger teams depending on your account. It really doesn't matter. MMR is generally not that sticky. So you just have to play things out. And if you play things out, if you're consistently outperforming your opponents, you will rank up. If you're not, you will stay the same rank. If you're performing worse, you'll drop in rank. And that's just pretty much how it is. But it's not unusual to see strange trends because probability is weird. I did a video about a year and a half ago where I flipped the coin 13 times in a row. Just one take. I just whipped out my phone and I got 11 out of 13 coin flips for tails. And that's not 50-50, but that's a small sample size relative to like 1,000 games, and that's just exactly where you see stuff. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, like I was saying, when I first got into this, I started like diving heavy into like researching everything about Overwatch. So I started reading about like the ELO systems and stuff. And it does seem like if you play a lot more, like you have like an advantage because like it's going to even out over time, and you might not, if you play
Sure.
less like me, you could have more of those just bad luck streaks, spread
Right,
out.
right. I would say it's both. It could go either way. I've known people that they'll buy a new account, or they'll create a new account, and they'll just do placements. And let's say they play really well in those placements, or they get really good teams. You can dice roll your way to a higher rank. But the problem is that if you play that account for anymore, the game's like, wait a second, you got lucky. You're not actually that ranked because you're losing a bunch of games and you drop right back. So like, but then the opposite's true as well. Like you can get really unlucky on placements. I actually this past season I got really unlucky in placements, and I was placed in like Diamond 5 or something on support, which I'm not a Diamond 5 in support. So it basically was like an entire extra day of practice to get to my actual rank, because I was placed in Diamond 5. And then I had like a 70% win rate just to get out of the rank that I didn't actually belong. But again, there's obviously the opposite true as well. Like people do really well in placements, and then all of a sudden they're in a rank where they don't actually belong. I don't really like rank resets for that reason, but that's basically why that kind of stuff happens. But it's just probability. Random crap happens. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah. And especially because I was telling you, one of my biggest weaknesses on support is I don't get a lot of I do some games like when I pop off, so like I'm not taking things into my own hands as much on support. So like on those close games, I feel like I'm losing them more for that reason.
Right,
On like DPS and tank, I can I can get angry and start popping off.
Yeah.
Taking over the game.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. So that being said, I really want to put emphasis today on like habits, like exactly how and what you're doing during your training and what we can do to improve that. And so let's keep going here. So I want to talk a little bit about your wrist pain here, because at the time it says, as you've gotten older, my wrist has really gone downhill, so my ability to flick is greatly diminished. I've noticed your aim in general is a lot worse than it used to be. I used to rely on raw, quote unquote, talent for my aim, but now it feels like I have to learn more efficiency and how to be a smarter aimer. Okay, so talk to me about, you are on PC, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and then do you know what your mouse's DPI is and what your in-game sensitivity is?
Yeah, I should have had that ready before I.
That's okay. If you don't,
It's usually.
no
Well, I
problem.
usually do like lower in-game sense and then really high DPI on my mouse.
Yeah. Do
So
you
like
know what your mouse's DPI is?
gotta get it. What's funny is like I don't know if I mentioned I think I did mention in the email. I just switched to a new mouse because I really
Sure.
needed something lighter, so I'm not
Good
familiar with
call.
like
Good
pulling up
call.
its the razor. It's a
Yeah.
razor.
Okay. So check. I'm gonna pick a note here. Check mouse DPI and let me know what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna make a note in your channel just to do that after our session today, because might be something that we can help a little bit with your mechanical consistency and may help a little bit with your wrist pain. I want to know what your DPI and your in-game sense is.
Okay.
Also in-game sensitivity. And finally, I guess to help me answer that question in the future, about how much mouse pad space do you currently have, like inches wise?
It's a really big one. I think it's 2 feet long.
Okay.
It's like under my keyboard all the way across the side. I got a lot of mouse pad space.
Yeah.
I need it. I don't know if this is a bad habit or something, but I tend to like migrate like over a game. I have to like reset my position because I migrate all the way over to the right and hit the edge of the mouse pad.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. That shouldn't be a problem then in terms of space here. Okay, so let's keep going here. So, in terms of hero pool here, you said that you kind of bounced around a lot between different heroes and different roles, depending on how you're playing, or depending on how things are feeling, or like your ability to perform at those roles, and maybe even due to like the account's performance. What does that kind of journey look like recently? Like, let's say like the last month.
The last month, first thing I did, it looks like my top DPI that I use is 6400 on my mouse, and then my in-game is I know we're not supposed to do this, but I have it different for different heroes like Diva and Lucio and stuff who I really like zip around on, but it's average 2.89 cents in game.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to start streaming again here. So you're going to need to like click on my profile picture at the top of Discord and then click over to reach, because I stopped and restarted stream. So I'm going to need to click around to find the screen again.
All right, yeah, I'm watching the stream.
All right, perfect. So I'm in practice range, you can see.
Yep.
So basically where I'm at right now is I have a slightly lower sensitivity than what I would say is average, but I have a mouse pad that's pretty big, about 18 inches to the right, and about, actually it's closer to 20 inches, about 20 by 18, I would say. Anyway, if I place my mouse all the way on the left here, if I drag my mouse all the way until I run out of mouse pad, just like pretty flat here, this is actually where I run out of mouse pad space. I can't even do quite a full 360. And the reason why I prefer this, and a lot of flux support or aim support players like this, is because I use a lot of my arm, right? So if I just do my wrist, this is about the only motion I can do with my wrist, but it forces me to use a lot of my arm, which helps me to just be more consistent with my flicks. Because if I'm off by just a tiny bit, like it's still on, right? And the problem with having like a really high sensitivity is you can just be off by a little bit, but it actually ends up transferring to a lot, as well as forcing you to use a lot of your wrist, because with your sensitivity right here, so I'm at 3200, you're at around 3. So basically what it would be this would be the equivalent of like a 13 here. This is about your sensitivity here. I could do a full 360 with just a wrist motion. In fact, I can do even more than a full 360. And that's probably how you're aiming right now, is probably with a relatively static arm and a very active wrist. This is not something that's going to be something you're going to want to be doing for a long period of time, and may be causing or certainly contributing to some of your aim inconsistency issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a pretty big ask for you, but I'm going to have you do it in increments. I would love for you to, if you're at 6400 DPI, I would love for you to first off change DPI to 3200, leave in-game sense. So I'm going to ask you to cut your sensitivity in half through your mouse's DPI.
Okay.
Now what that's going to look like is, let's take a look here. That's going to be 6.5. It's going to feel something similar to what I'm doing now, which is still pretty high, but with the mouse pad that you have, you'll be able to do more than 2 360s. You'll have plenty of room. This is just me moving around like this. Like I've got plenty of speed here, and this is half of what you're using right now. And I want you to see how that feels. I mean, and it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to take some time. You're going to be like, oh, I don't want to go back. Don't go back. Don't go back. You need to trust me on this one. Stick with this. You'll get, whenever you change your sensitivity, your mechanics will feel really weird for a period of time, but then your body will adjust very quickly. You won't be starting from scratch like you first started aiming again in a first-person shooter. That's not how it works. You could have a pro player change his sensitivity, and within a week or so, he's back to normal again. So it's just fine. But then I'm going to have you go further than that. I'm going to have you change your in-game sensitivity, and you said 2.89, right?
Yeah, that's like the average. Most of the characters are at that.
Okay. I'm going to have you then change in-game sense from 2.89 to, oh gosh, let's say 1.5 to 2. Somewhere in that range. Now, again, I'm going to do that really quick here. So that's going to be, let's see, 6,400. That's going to be around here. So it's going to be an additional around 50% off. And that's going to slow things down even further. Now, if I use my full mouse pad, still can easily do a full 360. In fact, I can do almost 2 full 360s. And your mouse pad's a little bit bigger than mine. So you're still going to be fine for turning around and pivoting quickly, even for a character like Genji. In fact, a lot of the faster pivoting characters like Genji, Tracer, Lucio, the sensitivity that I just gave you, their sense is even lower.
Oh, wow.
So the professional Genji Tracer players, they actually would run the equivalent of, if you were to have 3200 EDPI, they would actually run something that's closer to like 1.5 with the 3200. So, where I gave you the 1.5 to 200 or 2, they would be almost all of them in the 1.2 to 1.5 ratio. Now, you're not a pro player, but you don't need to be a pro player to benefit from having a lower sense. And in fact, the older you get, I think having a lower sense is healthier. So I think it's something that you absolutely should mimic 100%. So I want you to try this kind of, this should be kind of I would say, 2-week journey, okay? Start making the pivot slowly with your mouse's DPI, then start to go to in-game sensitivity. And then, as the final step, just to make it even juicier, same sensitivity on all heroes. And you know that it's not necessarily optimal, because you mentioned, like, trust me, it's not, and there's really no reason to have a different sensitivity for different heroes. There are a couple of pros who have done so in the past. Those pros don't play really much anymore. I think it's an outdated principle that is something that you can learn to work around, but I don't like it. I think it's much healthier for just to have the same sensitivity for the same heroes and learn to adjust. Even faster characters like Diva and Lucio, if you went to 1.5 with 3200, that is more than fast enough once you adjust with the mousepad space that you have.
Okay. Yeah, it's those here, like it's Lucio, Diva, Mercy, Wrecking Ball, like the ones that I really zip around on that are like higher sense.
And it makes sense, right? But I think it's like everything is relative, and it's still good enough for what you need to do. I wouldn't call myself a good Genji player, but I very could easily get to, with time, a Grandmaster on Genji role. In fact, I have in the past. I was well, not Grandmaster, but when I played a little bit more DPS, I was like the equivalent of like Master 2, Masters 3 about several years ago. And I was doing so with a sensitivity of 1 and 3200, actually lower than that. It was a very, very low sensitivity, and obviously it wasn't optimal, but it was good for me. Your sensitivity will more than work optimally for Genji or Wrecking Ball or Diva or any character that you possibly could want to play.
Cool.
Okay, now all that's just better for wrist health, better for aim consistency. It's like not going to instantly jump you to plat or anything like that, but it's going to make your training over the next 6 months, years. It's just going to be so much better for you moving forward. Okay, let's keep going here. Any questions so far?
No, that's great. That's like exactly what I was looking for, the type of thing.
Good. Okay, good to hear. Now, I want to keep rolling here because I want to talk a little bit about how practice wants to look within roles. So you know, I'm sure, the importance of like having a hero pool and practicing a character and so on, right? Like that's great and all. The challenging part is finding out what character that you want to improve on. And there's a couple of criteria that I would love for you to start looking into. The number one thing, I'm just keep dumping notes in your channel here, but the number one thing is when practicing, number one, what hero do I want to learn, enjoy? What hero do I enjoy playing? I would not even start with going off like, oh, I want to be a support main or a tank main or a DPS main. I think that's like fine, I guess. But honestly, like just play the heroes, don't play the role. Play the heroes, don't play the role. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I've always been someone like I really like to flex. That's kind of why I became an off tank in Overwatch 1, because I would wait to pick last. So I'd be one of the tanks, and so I think that is one of my weaknesses. Like there's some heroes that I'm interested in, and if I focused on them more instead of jumping all around all the time, I'd probably be a lot better on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key thing isn't like that. It can be, it's definitely a weakness. Like let's not lie, but also it's a weakness that helps you to enjoy the game more. So I don't think you really need to change that philosophy. What I would ask you to do is just to channel a little bit more accurately. So in other words, you like flexing, but what characters do you like flexing to and what characters do you not like flexing to? Let's start with that. So let's start within just the support role. Like if I said you're only allowed to play 2 supports for the next 4 weeks, what 2 supports would you choose?
Kiriko and Juno.
Kiriko and Juno. So support, Kiriko, and Juno. That sounds great. Okay, what about damage? And but first off, how much do you enjoy damage? Do you ever find yourself really wanting to play damage? How much damage have you played in the last month?
I was playing a lot lately because, like I said, I got kind of like I was annoyed with support. So damage, man, that's a hard one. Like because of the ranks that I'm playing at, like I have a lot of success on like Reaper and Bastion and stuff like that. Like I have fun on them, but it's almost so easy that like I can only play them for a couple of games before I like try to go on something like Ashe and have an actual challenge. But
okay,
I'd say the two. I mean, Junkrat is definitely one of my favorite heroes. Like, it's just really fun.
Junkrat.
And I'd really like to learn a hit scan, so I'd say Ashe is another one that I'd really want to learn and get
Got
good
it.
on.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay, and then what about tank? Now you said you were historically off tank player, but like again, just ignoring your monikers or your roles, what tanks would you enjoy playing or learning?
Uh, well, I obviously Diva would be one. Diva is my favorite hero in the whole
Hmm.
game, so I really don't need to learn. Like, obviously I have stuff to learn on her, but
Yeah,
it
of
wouldn't
course.
benefit as much.
But you'd like to improve at her. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. So Diva and Ramatra.
Diva and Ram. Okay, and then playtime here. Your form says you're getting around. Depends. Sometimes I binge and sometimes break. So let's talk about like what has it been like the last few weeks?
I've been playing a lot the last few weeks compared to normal because I knew this was coming up.
Right.
And I've been more into the game. I've recently got into like some different hobbies that have been taking up a lot of my real life time, but they're kind of dying down. So I'm gonna have a lot more time to play, especially since it's getting to winter.
Sure, sure. So what are
So
you
I'll be
thinking in
able
terms of time?
to probably let's see, a couple hours, maybe like
Okay.
4 or 5 days a week. But
Play.
there's some like by a couple hours too. I mean like a good session, like 3, 4 hours on average. Sometimes I can go longer.
4 to 5 days per week. Okay, so you've got lots of playtime here.
Yeah,
Okay, so here's my recommendation. So let's talk about like how to interpret the flex. I've got two recommendations for you. All right. The one is the tight ship. The one is the loose ship. Okay. The tight ship one is I want you to focus on only one role and the two heroes that you want to play within the one role for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. So the next 4 weeks are going to be Juno and Kiriko practice for 4 weeks. And you only play those characters during solo queue ranked for the first 1 to 2 hours of your playtime. So tight equals tight serious would be 1 to 2 heroes, 1 to 2 hours of solo queue for 3 to 4 weeks. And then other heroes and QP casually for the rest of the play session.
You know, you just made me think of something too. I am basically a solo queue player, but there was a good while there over the last year, this year and the end of last year, where I was just playing in teams with friends and competitive.
Right.
And I could really see how that can really throw a wrench into things and
It
make
does.
your
It does.
ranking chaotic.
It does. It just makes you practice different things. You know, like you're practicing like, you know, calling and being a good teammate, but you're not like really like I need to work on my micro missile. You know, like when am I using this and like where's my cover usage and like getting those bombs angled just right. Like those kind of things are not really going to be worked on all that much. And so like I would much rather you prefer to practice in solo queue. And this is the tight one. So basically what you're saying here is like this month is going to be a tank month, right? I'm really going to lock in a Diva Ram and have goals for those characters. It doesn't mean I'm not going to play the other characters. It just means that during my first couple of practice hours, these heroes, that role gets priority, right? And then afterwards, you play whatever you want, right? You can play Junkrat or Widow or Tracer or Lucio or Juno or whatever, right? But those first 2 hours, that's your practice time. The rest is fun time, okay? Now, the loose, more casual is free up hero flexibility, or I'll say no limits on heroes played, still only play one of the few heroes you enjoy the most, but focus on practicing specific goals for that hero for 1 to 2 hours of solo queue and then play for fun after. So this one is really important. So this is me saying, okay, like let's say it's just too regimented. You just don't, it's not as fun. Okay. What I'm going to tell you is I'm going to say this, you wake up tomorrow. It's Thursday. You say, I really feel like playing Ramatra today. Okay. I kind of feel like playing Diva today. Okay, so you know what you do? You go in and you only play Diva and Ramatra for the first 2 hours of your play session. Practice solo queue, et cetera, with goals. You got it, me? Then, after that, you're like, okay, I'm tired, or, I'm feeling kind of like getting a little tilted or like I played well, but I'm kind of like losing focus or even nothing. You just played 2 hours and you had good practice, time to move on. Now let's just chill in some quick play. Let me just like queue all rolls and just play whatever. The next day, you wake up and you go, Diva Ramatra was fun. Training yesterday with Diva Ramatra was fun. Today, I'm going to train Junkrat in a hit scan. Okay. And you could just change it up every single day. The only rule is that whatever block that you play, that you stick with those heroes in that role for that block, for that training block. And you really keep yourself dialed in onto those specific things, if that makes sense. Now, these are pretty variable, right? We're talking about only playing in ranked and grinding only a couple of characters within a role, and then we're going from that to like just changing it every day. Here's a life hack, or somewhere in between. You could find a balance of these as well. You could say this is going to be my tank week. This is going to be my Juno week, my DPS week. You could do it for 1 week. You could do it for 2 weeks. You could have 2 days that are tank days, 2 days are DPS days, 2 days are support days. I just want a little bit more intention with your structure. And I also want to make sure, and this is really important, when you're grinding your 1 to 2 hours of solo queue, I don't want you to play Malga. I don't want you to play Mercy. I don't want you to play Reaper or Bastion, right? If you want to get better at Junkrat Ashe, you're just going to need to play Junkrat and Ashe. And it might be awkward for a little period of time, but don't worry about winning those games. I promise you that ELO is not sticky. If you suck at a character and you learn the character and you get good at the character, if you play that character enough, the rank will reflect it. It's not like, oh no, I don't want to drop to like, bronze 5 because if I get in bronze 5, I'm literally impossible to get out. It's not true. I've seen it happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So that's my recommendation for you. And where you want to fall on that spectrum can change week to week, change month to month. I don't really care, but that's my recommendation for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's good you say that too, because that's usually what happened. Like it just happened the other day in a DPS game. I started as Ashe, and I was like, I'm gonna try to learn some Ashe here, and it got down. We were on offense. There was about a minute left of offense, and we were only about halfway through the map. And I was like, okay, I'm going Reaper, and I literally powerhouses all the way to the end of the map, and then just instead of just taking my L and getting
exactly.
better at Ashe.
And the thing is who knows if you would have even taken the L? Probably, let's be honest, you probably would have. But like, what if that was a really huge learning opportunity for you, where you like something clicked? Like you figured something out. You're able to kind of force yourself to figure it out, and that's a huge learning opportunity right there that you missed just for the sake of winning that game. And the irony is that you win the game, you get put into a tougher lobby next game, not by a lot tougher, and you're not better, right? You're put in the same situation with Ashe, and you're still not equipped to deal with that, right? I mean, the worst case scenario is I've seen people that like they'll pick like a really OP character, like let's say you remember Release Malga, like Release Malga, or like when Bastion got buffed like season 3, in his grenade, like, and they'll pick that character and they'll climb like a whole rank because people don't want to play Bastion, so they'll just dominate people not playing Bastion, right? But then Bastion gets nerfed, or Malga gets nerfed, or they get bored of playing Bastion, and guess what? They suck. and they're going to rank, going to tank right back down. If you want to be higher ranked, you don't want to be higher ranked with a character you don't enjoy playing. You don't want to. Trust me. You would rather be hard stuck silver playing heroes that you want to enjoy than you would be hard stuck gold playing a hero that you hate. Trust me. So I think, I think the key thing is that, like I said, don't feel like you have something to lose. You lose a game, you will get, if you deserve it, you'll get it back. If not now, if not next week, if not next month, if not next year, you'll get it back eventually. There's no such thing as a hard stuck account. So don't feel like, oh no, I've made an irreversible mistake that I'm never going to do. This isn't real life. So you're totally fine to experiment, throw games, not purposefully, but do whatever you like in the interest of just finding what you enjoy and progress. There's actually zero concern on your end.
All right, cool.
And I know that's tough to feel like that, but trust me on that one. Sleep looks good. I think the biggest thing for you is going to be about fixing your sensitivity, being a little bit more consistent with your playtime. I don't necessarily need you to play for long sessions. At what rank are you at right now on support? I know you said you were struggling. 5. Gold 5. Okay, so at your rank at Gold 5, you can make progress from playtime generally with only an hour and a half of solo queue a day. You don't even need 3 to 4 hours of playtime. So if you don't have the time, or if you just hop on and play like 2 or 3 games of support with goals, that's good enough for you to progress in the long term. So that's what I want to see. I want to see consistency in playtime. I want to see a little bit of not a super strict strategy, but I do want to see a little bit of a strategy with how you're approaching your hero pool, right? And I think we kind of gave you some tips on how you want to extrapolate. That is really up to you. But I think consistency of playtime, consistency of picking the right heroes, and then consistency of just adjusting your sensitivity to be a little bit more manageable. I think those are going to be big things, not necessarily next week or even this month, but over the next, like, let's say long-term 6 months, right? That's going to really improve the quality of your Overwatch training significantly. By probably the most important thing, definitely actually the most important thing we're going to talk about in this session.
Okay, I'll focus on that.
Okay. And I know that's a lot, so, just swap the sense, try to narrow the hero pool, and maybe just play. Maybe give it a couple of weeks and be like, all right, now I'm going to start kind of setting up my schedule once I kind of get my sense. You don't need to do all 3 of these things at the same time, but I do encourage you to start progressing along them. I think I don't really have any other questions. I'd love to look at least a little bit of gameplay here. If you have any questions, we can go over those, though, first.
No, not really.
Okay.
It's all perfect. It's a great foundation.
Okay, great. So what hero do you want to look like? You want to look at that Oasis with some of the Illari and Juno?
Yeah, I could do that one. Yeah, because like I was saying, she's hit scan, and that hit scan is what I really need to get better on.
Well, see, the question, though, is why?
Yeah.
Do you want to play Illari? Or do you want to play Kiriko?
I really like Illari because she's she's really strong on some points, and I'm like a flex player, so like those are the heroes I like to, that's why I played her on Oasis. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure on Oasis she's pretty dang good on some of those points. So
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. I guess my question would be, like, if we were really limiting it to like 2 heroes, it's just awkward to have like Kiriko, Juno, and Illari. Now, you could have like 3 heroes per role if you wanted to. It just would make it a little bit less efficient. So I'm going to leave that in your end. I don't mind. I don't think it's totally fine to rank up with 3 heroes. It just might be a little bit less efficient. So, okay, we could take a look at that.
Like, Kiriko is my favorite hero, like, out of, like, probably even more so than Diva at this point. I just love Kiriko. Like, I've never, like, the way they designed that hero, like, I've never, like, and I played, like, healer and WoW and stuff like that. Like, I've never played, like, a support role in a game that gives you, like, those feelings, like, that you can get on Kiriko. It's just amazing. So, I mean, there is that Circuit Royale game where I do play Kiriko, too, that I can, I mean...
Okay, we can look at a little bit of both. Just shoot me the codes themselves, because I don't see the codes in our message. Maybe I missed.
Yeah, I didn't send them in the message. I'll type them right now.
Perfect. Got it. Take a quick look at the circuit, and then take a quick look at Oasis as well. Now, which one are you here?
Juno, Raven.
Raven? Okay. So a little bit of Juno, and then you said Kiriko in here as well?
Yeah, Kiriko on defense. Our tank picked Roadhog, and I knew that they had an Ana, so I was like, okay, we're going to need the Kiriko.
Yeah. Okay. So the tricky thing here is going to be basically what Kiriko provides. It's really unique. Is she's, a lot of damage output from angles, essentially. Like, she's got this crazy mobility that you want to utilize. And you just basically control an angle either by yourself or with the DPS, put out pressure. If they shoot you, you teleport out. Or they pressure you, teleport out. If they don't, you just keep shooting. And
this is exactly, that playstyle is exactly what I need to learn, because I never do it because I'm a very, like, defensive. I try to play really safe and stuff, and I know I need to learn that flanking.
And this is the thing. I will help teach it to you, but the most important way, the most effective way to learn something is to be familiar with the concept of what people do. Like, you take an angle and you poke. Like, you know of it. You've heard of it. And then you just need to do it. Even if you're bad at it, even if you don't understand it, even if you don't know how to do it properly, you just need to do it. Because I can sit here and describe it to you exactly, like how to swing a sword. Like, this is the way you foot your hand, but you just need to go out there and swing a sword in the backyard and look kind of stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to go out there. Now, obviously right now, there's not a lot of space in this map to do much more than what you're doing right now. So this is all fine. But as soon as this map opens up, I'm going to want to see Like right there, it's a good Suzu. Love that, well done. Even the Bastion, I think, needed it more than Roadhog there. But once this map opens up, I'm going to want to see you actually taking some angles here. And even when when you don't have an angle to take, you could even just weave damage between your heals. So you can do like heal, shoot, right? Heal, shoot. Okay, we'll speed things up just a little bit here. Yeah, there you go. Good Suzu. That's fine. And honestly, you could even take some pot shots at the Widow here, right? Like, it's obviously a bit of a scary duel, but as somebody who's coached a lot of Widowmaker players, if there's like 3 heroes that a Widow hates, it's a Wrecking Ball, it's a Sombra, and it's a Kiriko. They really do not like Kirikos. Your hitbox is nasty. Your headshots hurt.
Yeah. I have had some success with that in the past. Widow and Ashe dueling a bit.
They scope in, and you're just like 80-80 strafing, and you're just like, it's tough. So here's where, again, like you're doing a lot of healing on a tank that's pretty much full. I want you to find a little bit of a sight line to pop some shots. What do you see on your screen here? Do you see it?
There's someone standing right over there.
Yeah. Right. It's a weird hitbox because she's got the stupid skin on, but that's the Ashe, right? Like that's something that you not only can headshot here or try to, but you should. Your Roadhog is missing a little bit of health here, but your headshot matters so much because even if you don't kill her, what's her response going to be when she takes a headshot or even a body shot? What's her response going to
hide? Yeah.
She's going to hide, right? So she's going to disengage. Support's going to have to heal her. And then that's going to be a lot more healing indirectly for your Roadhog than healing on your Roadhog. Because your Roadhog here is fine. He's fine. But if you can get the Ashe out of the equation and the Ana or Moira out of the equation, your Roadhog's going to take no damage whatsoever. And that's your responsibility because that's what your support does. That's unique, right? Kiriko can heal bot a little bit, but she's not exceptional at it. She has other tools that you need to utilize.
Yeah, I remember I was hyper-focused on my ult at this point in the game. I knew I was really close to it. I was just trying to top people off and get it so I could use it.
Yeah, but you also should be topping the other team off as well.
Yeah, if I got the headshot, I would have gotten the ult.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I like this. I assume we're going to pop Kitsune here. Yeah, it's good. Looks good. But again, get some damage on here, Like you got acceleration on your fire rate too. I love the ult there. It's really good. I like that we didn't wait. I mean, that's it right there. If you don't hit that body shot, the Ashe doesn't die. If the Ashe doesn't die, yes, you're probably going to die here because this is Nano and Bop. But their Ashe is now taking the angle and just butchering you guys from that high ground. It was just one body shot, and that's all the difference in terms of whether you guys might win this fight or not. You see what I'm saying? Like, you still lose the fight, but you at least had a fighting chance because you hit one body shot on an Ashe. So you should feel proud about that. Okay, let's keep going here. If any questions come up, by the way, just let me know.
All right.
Again here. So now the map's opened up a little bit. And by opened up, I mean it's wider, okay? Kiriko, like, you're not going to be frontlining anytime soon, but you are sneaky, all right? So you might do something like peek here, right? Or you might find a way and top off here, or pop, and TP out, right? What that does is that means it gives you something to TP to. Like right now, where can you teleport if you get pressured?
Oh, yeah, right now.
You know what I'm saying?
I can teleport
to your front
back
line,
into the fight.
Or right where you already are. Like, there's nowhere really to go. See, what Kiriko needs to do is you need to create your escape path by taking an angle. Because when you're on the angle, if they chase you here, then you can TP to your tank or TP to your backline. And the same thing goes here. So you need to create your own escape path, essentially. So right now, you're heal botting here, but you know what you should be doing? You should be dueling this Widow. Because you know who has the advantage right here? You do. You're better, way, way better at winning this 1v1 than she is. It's too close. You have Suzu. Your hitbox is nasty. You have cover. You kind of see what I'm saying? You're a very good duelist.
Yeah.
You're a very good duelist.
When we were on attack too, that Widow kept blowing my head off like every time I would peek out. So that was one of the reasons I was really shy around her at this point.
And understandable. Like, you should give Widow respect, but you should give Widow respect when she's in her domain. If this Widow is here, right, I might not want to peek from where you are right now because it's too far. But this is your domain. This is where you're strong. Like, if you were here and there's like a Reaper here or a Junkrat here, maybe I wouldn't take this angle. I'd find another one. Why? Because it's close range. They're gonna nuke me, right? But if it's a Widow here, I'm way better up close. You understand?
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
it's not about like giving people respect. It's about understanding, giving people respect when they are in the spots that are powerful for them. And then also finding your spot that's powerful for you. Because right now, this is not powerful for you. Like a Zen could maybe sit here, because a Zen could pop Harmony Orb and just bam, 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 right? You just aren't quite as good at that. But you know what Zen doesn't have? He doesn't have a teleport. And you see what ends up happening is this is the funny thing. This is your fault. That's your fault. Because this is your lane.
Oh, yeah.
This is your lane. You needed to contest her. You needed to force attention here so that your Roadhog can walk forward and your Ana can do what she wants without worrying about it. So you're like, man, we got to deal with that Widow. Well, that was your job. Not necessarily dealing with a Widow, but dealing with this angle. And hey, look, the Widow's there. You know, if Ana's here, deal with Ana. If Moira's here, deal with Moira. If Ashe is here, deal with Ashe, right? You know, if Ryan's here, okay, maybe we go away from Ryan because Ryan's better up close, but just something to consider.
Yeah.
You need to be a solution creator, right? Like, I'm going to create pressure. And right now, it's basically, that's a good Suzu. What's ending up happening is you're getting good Suzus. I want to give you some respect for that. But a lot of the Suzus are necessary because you're not putting out any pressure. You're giving that on a nade value. You're giving that Widow shots. You're giving that Rhine a lot of space because you're not really contesting from angles. And like I said, it's you know, you're going to be like, oh man, I'm going to go try this. And you're going to fail miserably. I promise you, you're going to fail. If not the first game, the second or third game. But that's just part of the learning process, right? Get some shots out. There's that Ashe. Come on. If you don't shoot that Ashe, she will shoot you, right? Like that is, you got to put pressure on her to keep your own self alive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip far forward to a different point in the fight. And I want you to tell me, if you were still on Kiriko here, where could you position yourself to do pressure?
Let's see. I could go around to the right there and just like poke from the lower high ground, or I could try to climb up to where the Ashe and the McCree are and try to get them to leave that area. And
what do you think about this?
Control of that.
What do you think about this?
Oh yeah, that's a nice long angle there.
You know, here. Heck, you could even wait for your team to walk forward, come up here, and start bam, 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 bam. Right, you have this corner here. If they push you, you TP out. I actually think I don't know if you could kill these guys, but I think you could by yourself poke these guys out from this. This corner is really good, and so now you're part of the solution. You're being part of the solution. You're like, we can't deal with these hits again. Well, guess what? You have a wall climbing, TPing, 225 slender hitbox headshot monster with a Suzu. And this is perfect right here. Or even this here, right? Putting, like you said, long range pressure on those supports still can heal your team. Now you might go, oh, my teammates will flame me because I need to be healing my team. Yeah, your teammates may occasionally flame you. That's just how it goes. But it's the same that happens with every role. Everyone wants to group up behind the shield and shoot the enemy tank. Nobody wants to create a play. But you know what? These DPS players are creating space. You see this? They're doing, and do you see how oppressive it is when they take an angle? That's good for their hero, right?
They got half the last point for free.
Right. Do you think how oppressive it was for this Widowmaker to not just group up with her team, but to push up on a little flank here, right? Just pick off your Ana, right? Being proactive on angles, not stupid, right? Like, I'm not saying just walk up into these guys into their face, but be devious, play an angle, play split, have a TP, right? Playing to your strengths, taking space, takes risks. People won't like those risks, but it will win games. It will win games. It wins more games. Okay, so let's take a quick look at Oasis here. So I'm going to take a couple of notes. Kiriko, work on angle and offensive pressure playstyle. Be comfortable with taking calculated risks. Cover, play, fighting at the same time as your team. Playing your range, which is usually a little bit further away, but not always. And then that's pretty much it. TP out when you are pressured.
Yeah, I think something that would help me on her too is to just like go. I know there's like some way you can go and wander around the maps by yourself in like the practice mode or whatever, and just like find some of those really strong positions and interesting little angles. Yes.
Basically, what you do is at the start, like once you're actually in the game, the start of the game, you go, where should I go? Like right now, let's say you're on Kiriko. Where should I go? So we're probably going to fight here. So maybe if I like poke here, let's see what that looks like. Or maybe I'll rotate here and see how that looks, or rotate here. And then when you like lose a fight or win the fight, then ask yourself, where should I go? Where should I try and set up? And just constantly ask yourself before the fight starts, where do I need to go? Now, you're going to be awfully excited because the way Illari plays is the same way that Kiriko plays, just not quite as flanky. So I don't mind this pylon. I would have preferred it to be a little bit behind cover, but you can do this. Check this out. You can unironically drop pylon here, hold the corner really tightly, and poke, 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 poke. What happens when they push you? What do you do with your pylon and your shift?
So I would go rotate back around to my team.
You got it.
Shift away from them. And
you got it. Shift back, destroy your pylon, replace your pylon, and poke, 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 poke. They leave you, you go back and you do again. Poke, poke, poke. That's basically what you do. You're actually not that good in tank damage. You're really good in duels. And what also happens is if anybody on your team decides to take a flank, you're in a perfect position to help them. And do you see it?
Oh, yeah, I could have been there with my ass.
This is a selfish responsibility for you that accidentally would have assisted a playmaker. Because let me tell you something. If your Ashe can live here, she's going to win this fight. She's going to kill everybody. If your Ashe dies, it's over. And this is where you needed to be. It's what makes you effective. Moira, Lucio, it's different, a little bit different, right? But for you, you need to be here. And so your Ashe is going to die. And you're going to go, man, what the heck happened? The funny thing here...
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
I've never seen that happen before, so... But yeah, even here, like you got to be thinking, okay, I got my pylon soon, because your pylon's what allows you to hold those angles without dying, because you don't really have the teleport, but you do have the pylon. I mean, okay, what you intended to do with the pylon was good, right? And then now you just need to take a sightline and poke. Don't get too close. Don't stay in the open. Find somebody and poke them out. Good pylon. Create a little bit of distance, but you don't want to be too close to their tank. Good shots. Yeah, the shots are fine. Look at a little bit more, and then we'll move on here. See, even here, you can be thinking, can I create like a pylon here and poke from this angle here? Because you know that you're going to kite back to point. But even here, I think you're just a little too close. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? Just a little too close. Like that ram is right on you.
Yeah, and if I took that angle in that room, I would have the health back too with my pylon. I'd be pretty intimidating in there.
It's not even like a hard flank. It's just like a little bit of a split. Like if I always talk about like the clock, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the clock. Not 6 o'clock, not all the way behind, but yeah, in general, I think you're catching yourself too close to the tank trade, which is really dangerous for your character. You're too fragile. And also in the panic, you won't be able to hit a lot of shots. Okay, let's see how we get out here. Heal, heal, heal. And then from here, where can you rotate to? So you're healing here. Where can you rotate to take a bit of an angle?
Around that side where the Moira and Bastion are.
Yeah, you could heal your team, kind of shift out this rotate here, drop your pylon like up here, and go poke, 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 poke. Anybody comes with you, great. If nobody comes with you, still useful. And I guarantee you, when you start to take angles like these, your DPS will gain confidence. Like this Echo is the Ashe. She really wants to take this angle, but last time she didn't get any help and she just died. But if you start doing it by yourself, if your teammates don't go with you, it's still good. If your teammates do go with you, well, that's even better. But you got to see, like, man, we're either getting run over by a ram or staring directly at a Ramatra shield. And your hero just isn't all that good at that. A lot of first-person shooters are about finding different angles, finding different sight lines. Did you ever play like Call of Duty, like back in the day?
Yeah, I played some of that. I played a lot of like Halo.
Yeah. A lot of COD and Halo, like the whole team deathmatch, like whatever, was about rotating to like minimize the number of angles that you could get shot on. So like you never, like all the noobs, like I was a noob, I was like, I was dumb. I would just run down middle and like take gunfights, and I always got shot by like over there or like over there, and like, crap, like dumb, stupid respawn. And I do the exact same thing. Smart players, if you ever watched them, would always kind of like rotate on the outside, take an angle. Okay, check my flanks. Okay, rotate, check the angle. Okay, check the flanks. They'd run like circuits. You remember those? Like they'd run like cycles, you know? And it basically was just done to like prevent you from getting shot at from multiple different angles, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to allow you to create those own angles. Because when you're here, you're not getting shot at from multiple different directions. It's just here, right? If anybody's here, you can control this whole... But if you're here, you can get shot there, you can get shot there, and you can get shot there. So you position yourself on the angle to control the angle. Remember the Widowmaker with Kiriko? When she killed Urana? Same kind of situation, right? Where you would put yourself in a crossfire. And so I think that's something we'll put on here. So with Illari, more focus on controlling little angles with Pylon, shifting out and rotating away if you get push. Similar to Kiriko, you can't quite go as deep because you're not quite as fast as her, but also you have a little bit more consistent pressure than she does. Okay, so then we go Juno, and Juno is actually kind of somewhat similar. She has that mobility. So what you could do here is you can heal here, and then shift up and go for like a torpedo up on an angle, right, on high ground. You're not leaving your tank by herself. You're still healing her, right? But you notice that you're kind of changing your angle so that you can hit a torpedo. So here it's like, okay, we're healing, but we need a torpedo. And I want a torpedo that doesn't just heal my teammates, but also can pressure enemies. And to do that, you're going to need to use your mobility to take space. I like that speed ring. I like this rotation from you. This is good. So heal. And then here, what you could do is now that you have your shift and torpedoes, what could you do at this point right here?
I could go right down the middle so I can get a
You got it.
on
Take the
everybody.
position, take an angle, take a high ground, and torpedo on everybody. You'd get the same torpedoes, and you'd also help your Sojourn and or hit the Bastion, right? And then you'd be in a better position to damage and heal at the same time. Okay. Good stuff. Nice. Well done. Good stuff. That's fine. Just need to shift away a little bit sooner. You are so fragile, it's crazy, but...
Yeah, that's my
Ooh, nice. Nicely done. Let's go. I think you're going to kill this guy. I believe. Oh, the movement's crazy. She got pocket. Good torpedo. Shift away. Press the ult. Good. And then just get a shot. Good. You might need to disengage here. Yeah, that was fine. I respect it. Sometimes things are going to go well and they just don't quite work out. You don't worry too much about it. Okay, so then we'll move on to the next round here. Okay. So Juno is a little bit similar, but what you do is you have bursts of mobility. You have bursts here. So like here, you're going to heal. But what you can do is when you get an opportunity to, where could you have rotated to even from the very start here?
I could have probably taken the high ground, right?
That's it, right? Go with a soldier, right? You're with your soldier, so if Sombra comes through, you have some form of safety, right? And then if you get pushed out, okay, well then I can rotate away. The problem here is you can heal your Orisa from here, but it's so much easier to get torpedoes and damage from here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You still are going to be doing a lot of healing with Juno. It's not like, oh, you need to stop doing healing. You need to do damage. No. But because you're not with your soldier, he ends up losing position and then ends up dying for it, right? And you could have killed the Sombra here. You have, again, mobility is a responsibility. If you have mobility, your character is generally required to use it to actually win games. Because there are other characters like Ana, like Zenyatta, like Bap, that just do so much more without their mobility. So if you don't find ways to take a little angle or a little space or help somebody on a flank, then really other supports are just a lot better. It's kind of the way to look at it. Great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah, exactly. I messed up that ring.
I thought it was all right. I mean, it was basically there. Good rotation here. Now, again, though, you got your shift, you got your torpedoes. Where can you rotate to? Just a minor little angle here, just a little angle.
I'm probably in the room to the right. So
You can. You could double jump, zoom, bam, right here. You're like, is that really an angle? just a little one, right? I'm not asking you to go off by yourself and flank. No, it's fine. Just change your sight line. Change your sight line. This Bastion expects that he's only thinking about tank, right? He's like, I'm hiding from everybody else, right? But not if you reposition. Not if you reposition. Good. And again, you got your torpedoes here, so let's walk forward, take space. Okay. Speed ring. Oh, it's unfortunate. It was all right. I think, again, you can kind of see, like, this is kind of why I'm encouraging you to do these things. Because you're technically, it feels like you're quote-unquote playing safe here. But you notice how it's not really safe?
Yeah, not with...
You're still...
Ramatra.
Right, you're still... Ramatra still runs you over. Bastion turret's still scary, right? Like, there's nowhere really totally safe. But you know what? It would feel a little bit better getting up here and healing from here, looking for torpedoes from here. Right? Heck, you could even go for a flank torpedo here, blam, shoot, and then just shift away really quickly. Just for a second to distract and go back to your team.
And they might all turn and look at me, and then
right,
one of my team might get a pick on them.
Right. You never stay there for long. You sadly, you're just too squishy. You have to run away pretty much immediately. But I want to see a little bit more creativity with how you're approaching these things. Okay? Sure. Use those torpedoes. Good. Huge. And then here, same kind of thing. You could drop your speed ring, you can drop your shift or whatever, and take a different position. So here, once... Oh gosh, same kind of thing. You noticing it? You're like, every time you're stacked with tank, you die. You notice that? Whether it's with Illari, whether it's with Kiriko, or even with Juno here. So you're popping your ult here. EMP, bam, whatever. From here, you need to create some distance. You can heal here. You can angle here. You could heal. Honestly, you could even shift across here and create height here. You see this little position here? Get all your healing in here and then go for another one of those little bloop, back to your team moments, right? But what you don't want to be is here. I think you can kind of see it, right? It's just you're too close and you're too stacked in the core. And that's where I think you're struggling here. So with Juno, a little... Keep up the healing damage, but avoid stacking on core. Look for soft little angles / high grounds for better vision. Plus, here's disengaging quickly if you get pressured. See, the problem with Juno is that she's so squishy that you really can't win a lot of duels immediately.
Yeah.
You have to run away. But I think that's the thing, is that people think that because they've run away that it's not good. No, it's fine. Forcing an action because you got a big torpedo is fine. It's fine. And running away has to be done very quickly too. Like, you have to kind of anticipate the pressure. But again, that's fine. That's kind of part of what makes Juno Juno. So, okay. Do you have any questions? I know there was like a bit of an information dump here, but any questions?
There was one thing I was wondering there. Did my ult just expire there, or does the EMP actually destroy the Juno ult?
EMP, I think, cancels the Juno ult if it's done right at the cast, I believe. But
while you're channeling the ult.
Yeah, but she didn't get it. She didn't get it because you had already pressed it and it had already gone off.
Okay,
and then
so
she
it doesn't
EMP'd.
remove it. Okay.
No, because technically the whole UFO beaming it down is inaccessible. Essentially, it's like when you're calling in the UFO, you can be interrupted, but if you guide it off, it stays.
I learned that in the other Circuit Royale game. If we would have watched more of it, there was a time where I got pulse bombed and I tried to ult.
Oh,
when I got,
that sucks.
Yeah, I made boneheaded mistake.
That happens. That's happened to me as well. It happened once where I popped an ult and got shattered right as I pressed it, and so I just canceled it instantly. I was like, oh, crud. Okay. Any other questions?
No, that was all awesome. I really like the notes that I can refer to. That's going to help a lot.
Good. I'm glad. I think that's, like I said, going to be really important. I would recommend practicing, when it comes to actually practicing in game. You could practice any one of those points in game in isolation. I think there's going to be just more than anything. I encourage you to experiment more. Experiment with your sensitivity. It's going to take a little bit of a learning curve there. Experiment with your hero pool and just focus on just learning and trying new things and not feeling like there's a pressure to perform or win, because there just isn't. There just isn't. Any of that is self-imposed or imposed by teammates that don't know what they're doing. It's just, you're just out there drilling. You're just out there drilling like anything else. It's like youth soccer or high school football or anything else. Like, no scholarships are on the line. Just enjoy the process, enjoy the game for what it is. The reason they call it competitive is because people trying to win is what makes it fun, but you don't have to win for it to actually be fun.
Yeah.